Well, welcome. Excited to be again with you. We're here to bring equipping, to build up the body. And today we're going to really engage in a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and really for the health and the growth of the local church body, and that is intergenerational discipleship. Older men discipling younger men, older women discipling younger women. And so I'm here with one of my fellow pastors and my brother in Christ. And so, my friend, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Thompson, and I'm the high school ministries pastor here at Big Valley Grace. And I really love the opportunity to pour into the hearts and lives of students and volunteers. And I'm just really excited that I get to do this.
Yeah, well, we're going to dig into this topic together. And, I use the term intergenerational discipleship. What does that even mean? What does intergenerational discipleship look like? What is that?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's really generations pouring into the next generation. And it's taking the wisdom and experience you have and giving it to the next generation that's coming up. And so really it's equipping the next generation. And it's intentionality. So it's all of our generations really working together, because it's not just from the older generation to the younger, it's a two-way street. And so intergenerational discipleship is really focused on the generations being intentional and working with each other.
If it were not for a previous generation deciding to make an investment in the next generation, I would not have come to Christ. I would not have been discipled. I would not have had an opportunity to grow, to serve, to learn how to be in ministry. It took Christians who were Christian before I was to make that investment. And in your ministry, as you're working with high school students, but you're also working with team members, you're working with middle school and with elementary age. And how have you seen generations successfully discipling a younger generation? What does that look like in your ministry experience?
Yeah, so for me personally, I'm actually a product of intergenerational discipleship. And my father was intentional with me, and the senior pastor of our church, where I went to a Christian school, he discipled me from 9th grade to post-graduation. He did my premarital counseling with my wife and I. So I've seen it in my own life, but I've seen the benefits of someone from an older generation coming in and sharing that experience, because there's a walk with Christ there. There's an obedience that exists that students are desiring to see, they want to know about. And so they experience this moment of hearing from an older generation and hearing the love that they have for Christ and the healthy habits that they've created over the years and how they've created those habits. And one of the things I see students ask the most is, well, how do I know God's will for my life? And that's a question that it can't be answered in a 30-minute message on a Wednesday night. You need somebody who's walked the path and walked in God's will their whole life to come and share, this is how you walk that path.
There's so many examples in my own mind I'm thinking about as you're sharing of just those who served in student ministries when I was a student, that I could look at them and go, man, look at how they're following the Lord. Look at how they're wanting to follow Christ, and look at how they're here and they're available for me to talk to. Like, they're here every time I show up, they're here. And I can have a conversation with them. I mean, just what a great investment. I'm so thankful for, those who did that in my own life. And you've already began to touch on it, but when a student experiences that, older generation pouring into their life, how are they benefited?
Yeah, it starts out with that developing healthy habits. And, we have adult volunteers who are doing that right now in our student ministries. And their benefits, it's endless, really, because they're getting this life experience from these loving adults, but they're also getting it communicated to them that somebody loves for them and cares for them and wants to be with them. And one of the things that we really hit on in student ministries is that we want our students to come and feel like they can be themselves and have a meaningful conversation with a loving adult who points them towards Jesus. And that's part of intergenerational discipleship. And so the benefit there for them is that somebody who's walked that road is sharing, this is my life experience, and this is how this verse helped me, or this passage helped me, and this is how I've seen God be faithful in my life, and how you can trust him to be faithful in yours. And so one of the things that I saw growing up was I knew somebody who kept a prayer journal. And in their prayer journal, they wrote down, these are all my prayer requests. And they would go back and they would write down the answer and the date and time that those prayers were answered. And so that's something that I've done in my life, because I can go back to that journal at any point in time and read through and see the faithfulness of God in my life. And that's an encouragement to me, especially when I'm struggling and stressed out or overwhelmed.
And real practically here in the local ministry right here, what does this look like? What does this look like for students? What does this look like for adults who are engaging in this cross-generational discipleship?
Yeah, it really looks like the previous generation recognizing what you even talked about, how they wouldn't be at this point without someone pouring into them. And so recognizing that truth and then going and doing the same thing. So it's that equipping, but it's also that multiplying. And it's recognizing, wow, someone took the time, sacrificed their time to pour into me. Yeah. And so it looks like coming to a Wednesday night. It looks like coming to a Sunday morning. But so much more than that, it looks like showing up at a sports game or being at a play or a recital for this student and letting them know that you're there and you truly care about them. You're not just there for Sunday morning and Wednesday night. It's not just some sort of a weekend thing, but it's actually you're involved in their life. Sometimes it means a phone call or a postcard or a text that just says, hey, I'm praying for you. So there's a lot of different ways that it can play out, but it just is a relationship with students and loving on them and letting them know you're here for them, you love them, and you're praying for them.
Now, help us understand, from a scriptural standpoint, what's the Bible have to say about this subject of, generations pouring into another generation?
Yeah, Scripture talks a lot about it. We see it in the Old Testament. We see it pretty much everywhere, but really where I want to focus is Ephesians 4:12 that says to equip the believers for the work of the ministry. And that's really part of who we are here at Big Valley Grace. So that hits on two of our values, the equipping and the multiplying. And the whole desire in that is that we would take what God has given to us and then give it to somebody else with the hope and the intentionality that they would go and do the same. And so, again, we keep talking about this and it feels like a broken record, but it really is that training to train. Yeah. And so like someone poured into your life, it gave you the opportunity to then go and do the same, to teach someone else, to go and equip someone else. And so it's this continuation. And you say it many times from the stage, to making disciples, making disciples, making disciples, making disciples. And it sounds kind of silly sometimes, and you smile when you say it, but it's true. It's part of who we are to go and equip so that those students who are in the ministry right now can grow up and they can equip. And so when they're impacted by intergenerational discipleship, when they're our age, they can look back and say, wow, I benefited from that. I want to go and do the same. And that's what we see in Scripture. We see Paul do it time and time again. And so we have Timothy and Titus who are benefiting from his discipleship and they go and do the same. And so there's people who benefit from their discipleship, so they go and do the same. And it's really powerful. It's the body working in unity.
Building itself up in love. What are some fears people might have of going, I don't know if I can do that. Really, kids, students, discipling, that sounds like a big word. I don't even know if I've been discipled, all these obstacles that are in the way. So what are some of those that you would want to address?
Yeah, the biggest one would be kind of the technology that we see with students today and social media. And, since 2007, when the first iPhone came out, we have seen this intense boom of smartphones and touch screens and social media and extreme engagement on a screen. And previous generations, that can be scary. It can feel like, wow, I don't even recognize the world that these kids are growing up in. That's okay. A student doesn't need you to know how to use Instagram completely. They don't need you to know what WhatsApp is or what the new one, Be Real, is. They don't care that you don't know that. What they want from you is authenticity. They want you to come and be loving to them. And like we said earlier, they want you to show them the path that you've walked. And so one of the things that our students need is building healthy habits of how to read the Bible. When should I do that? Should I do it first thing in the morning? Should I do it midday, at night? What worked for you? And so when someone comes and shares those truths, students aren't looking for you to be so much knowledgeable about their world, but just care about who they are and to be authentic with them. So don't be fake. Don't try to know, the hippest things. Don't walk up to a group of students and say, "What's up, fellow youngsters?" Just be yourself and be there with them. And that's going to speak volumes. And it's at first, it'll take them a while to warm up to you, but when they do, they'll open up and you'll have developed a great relationship.
What about this specifically? Is it even worth it? Is it even worth it? Like, will I, even make a difference? Is any kid, is any student, is their life, actually going to be any better? Can I impact them? What about that obstacle that someone might be thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask, because it's definitely a fear. And to that, I would say the moment that you show a student that you authentically love them, you're making a lasting impact in their life. Because you don't know what their home life is like. They may not have two parents. They may not have a mom or a dad. And so an older man coming into a younger guy's life and telling him, "Hey, I love you," and communicating that love of Christ, it could be life-changing for that student. I know for me, there's been many times in my life where someone has said something to me and I carry it with me my whole life. And I've actually talked to a few of those people. They don't remember saying that.
Yeah.
And what's eye-opening for us is that God speaks through us sometimes into the lives of others and those who are coming behind us. And we forget what we said and we don't even remember it. And that's a lasting impact on this person's life. So we have to be conscious of the fact that our words are heavy. They carry weight. And so when we say things, we need to be mindful of what we're saying to somebody else and how we're communicating that love and how somebody might carry that with them. And for the rest of their lives, it'll impact them. So you're going to have an impact. Is it going to be an impact of absence, or is it going to be an impact that changes the life of a student?
I wonder how many people who invested in my life wondered, is this even worth it? Is this even worth it? Here I got this young kid I'm pouring into, this young Joel I'm pouring into, and he's crazy. And is what I'm doing right now even going to make a difference in this young kid's life? And then to look and go, wow, look what God did. God uses punk kids. God grows up punk kids, and he does stuff with punk kids. And I wonder if there's anybody who's thought about that in your life.
Plenty of people. Yeah, quite a few. More than I'd like to admit.
That's right. For years and years in student ministry, we'd always joke, whichever one is the student who's the most work to deal with, probably going to be a youth pastor. Right. Yeah. That's great. You mentioned about Paul pouring into people, and Paul writes this letter to Titus, and in the second chapter, he just so clearly lays out in the second chapter about this is what older men need to be doing, and this is what older women need to be doing, and this is what younger women need to be taught, and this is what younger men need to be taught. And just the really clear instruction of it really takes those who have walked with Christ to help somebody else learn how to walk with Christ. And we want to see that flourish. We want to see that grow. We want to see more men and women invest in the life of boys and girls, in young men and young women, and really see just discipleship that is being passed on from generation to generation just grow and flourish. And, that the future of the church, right, that the future church is being built up now. And so I just really appreciate you and your heart. Is there anything else that you'd want to just share with somebody? What's What's the first step, right? What's the first step? What are they going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, the first step is just coming on a Wednesday night or Sunday morning and really just talk with students, just get to know them. And that's that first step that really, it breaks the barrier of that fear of, I can't do this. I was talking to a leader yesterday, and she was talking about how she didn't think that she could ever make an impact. And now it's hard for her to imagine not being involved in student ministry because our students are so desirous of that relationship with older generations that when you come, they want to learn from you. And it's awesome. So show up, just come on a Wednesday night or come on a Sunday morning. We'd love to have you.
And when somebody comes, what should they expect to find?
They should expect to find a bunch of students talking and playing 9 Square in the air and music happening, and it's loud and it's crazy and people are everywhere. And just look for those students who are sitting by themselves on their phone and go sit down next to them and ask them how their day was.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Pastor Jeff, thank you. Thanks for sharing with us your heart, your love for students, your heart for student ministry, and really kind of taking the mystery out of what happens at student ministry, and how does someone even get involved. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you.
And for you who's watching right now, if you've made it this far, I just want to ask you this question. If you are a follower of Christ, who is the younger person you are investing in? Who can you identify right now? This is a younger person. This is a group of younger people that I'm pouring my life into in the same way that others have poured their life into you. Can you identify that younger man if you're a man and that younger woman if you're a woman, where you're really pouring your life into them? And I want you to know, we would love to help you find those intergenerational discipleship relationships. And first step, come on a Sunday, come on a Wednesday. Awesome. Well, we're going to continue to equip. Thanks for being with us. And Pastor Jeff, thanks for everything that you shared.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, we will see you again real soon.